Receive justice by any means necessary. I repeat, judgment will be served. The Alchemil kidnapped will receive justice by any means necessary.
Welcome to another episode of The Verdict Facts Over Belief Show. For those that don't know who I am, I'm your host, Jones, the Honorable June, Mr. MBIC, aka Mr. Keep My Foot on All Necks. Definitely want to give a shout out to the creators. Definitely want to give a shout out to our ancestors. Definitely got to give a shout out to you guys for your continuous support. Leaving all the feedbacks, the positive, the negative, all things is expected. I mean, respected and needed because it allows me to do what I do best. And that is to continue keeping my foot on these heathens, these Hebrews, these heathenites necks, and also all the religion, which is Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, Hebrewism, Bantuisms, and any other isms that's keeping us in spiritual prison. Are you dumb? Or are you dumb? Round of applause for that. Yeah, man. Again, let me send my deepest apologies for not being able to come on. I've been coming home quite late. I've been very exhausted, and I'm setting up new things as far as the different direction. You know, like I've been saying for the last couple of months now, that the channel is getting off this biblo talk, this the Euro Christian ideology. We stepping away from that. The direction now is pure African spirituality, trying to uncover, decipher, the information that we have retrieved over the years. But from us, this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing here. The moderators, we on that journey. That journey is to find our Alkebulan culture. I'm not gonna be a colored man and know more about Euro-Christian, European history than I do about my own African, you understand? Nationality, DNA. I gotta keep my focus there. I've gave here too many long years of my life, and nothing has been getting done over here. It's just another belief story. I can't stand on the side of belief. We need to find the facts, see what worked, see what didn't work. What didn't work is removed, is replaced, and is installed from the mindset of an Alkebulan. Okay? That's where we at now. This is the path that we as the Alkebulan kidnap. We the Alkebulan kidnap. We on that journey to go find out who we are. And I'm not gonna rely on the kidnappers' ideology alone, because they will tell the truth. They will speak about themselves. But again, the end of the day, the focus is for my people, our people, knowing our culture and learning about who we are. I don't need to know about Greek. I don't need to know about a Gladiator 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm good. Let me stay here and focus on what I need to focus on. Because that's just a level of high disrespect for us as colored people, knowing more about different nationalities than we do ourselves. That's a problem. And we're here to address that. And I'm also, deciding, should I do the life coaching A lot of you guys reach out to me for advice, and I give you the righteous advice. I give you the El Kebulan advice. I give you the advice straight from the ancestors. I don't give you advice based on how I feel or how I see a person. That's never me. My job as a life coach and just as a fellow comrade is to make sure that we all live in peace and harmony amongst each other. Amongst each other, nah, ain't all this war, mad, we gotta kill that amongst each other because we are all we got. Okay? And I don't want to talk too much, but I might just start doing that a little bit more. But the big blows, that conversation, that ship done sailed. We're not. Anything that's pertaining to our history and our culture, I'm down for it. If you're trying to feed me African Biblo story that sits on absolutely no facts but beliefs or insertions or assumptions, nah. I'm too grown. Listen, I'm way too grown. We are way too grown. The Biblo said when I was a child, I thought of a child. When I became a man, I put away childish things. Why haven't we put away religion? Why haven't we put away the toys given unto us by the enemy? Listen, think about this, people. The people gave you a Biblos when your mind was not even fully developed to understanding the English culture, the new climates, the new conditions, mentally, physically. They gave you something when you was a minute level. That lets you know that when you was a child, you was thinking of childish things. Santa Claus and Jesus are one and the same. One is to control children, one is control man. When you put those two together, you find yourself in a box that prevents you from redemption, prevents you from rising, prevents you from realizing, prevents you from being real. It stops you. You put yourself in a box. We are, as colored people, as El Kebulan kidnaps, are in enough box as it is. And I don't want to dive too much because it's going to take me off today's broadcast. And today's broadcast is going to be a phenomenal one, man. I promise you. We're going to show you the difference between African spirituality, European Christian ideology. We're going to show you the difference. I'm going to show you the difference. And I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to play these videos after. But I want to just give you guys just a clean breakdown on what we're dealing with today. Okay? So let me share my screen. So I went to ChatGPT. Make sure you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, cool. So, should I pop up my face? Okay. So, I went on ChatGPT. This is my assistant, and I requested her to give me a breakdown as far as the difference between African spirituality and Euro Christian ideology, and she did a good job. I'm not gonna lie. She did a pretty good job. One thing that she mentioned that it will definitely be seen later on in the video is baptism and praying. We don't do those things. We meditated. We wasn't required to pray and praise no. We gave praise and we meditate. Prayer is spell casting. Okay? If somebody says, let me pray on you, they trying to cast a spell upon you. That's where praying comes from. You're praying on the weak. That never changed. They'll tell you it's different meanings, but no, remember, the English language is a sorcerer language. Okay? Okay? All right? It's their language, it's their demonic language that they make the world speak because it makes you follow their creation of spells and dogma and all of that. It comes from them. Us, we have our own dialect, but that's a whole different topic. The point I want you guys to understand is we don't do those things. So you're going to see these things. I'm going to show it and I'm going to, point it out so you guys can see and not be thrown off like, wait, but I thought June said this, so I'm telling you from now. All right? And pardon for my from my long of talk, but I when I've been gone for so long, it's like I gotta come back with the fires burning and talk to you guys and let you know why this is the number one, podcast of it all. We trying to get to the top. You know what I'm saying? The ancestors will be remembered back on top. So this is me asking ChatGPT. She gives me the breakdown. African spirituality and Christianity represents two vastly different systems of belief, values, and practice. Again, we don't have belief. Belief was something that came with religion. We didn't know what religion was until it was forcibly introduced unto us. Okay, we didn't have belief. We knew. Okay, our ancestors knew. Death wasn't something that you was to think about what's to come after you die. We knew. The stories that we're being told, heaven and hell, those are mystical stories given unto you by them who's themselves. Okay? You can find all that in the Greek text. You can't find nothing prior. When I say prior to Euro-Christian dominancy, you never heard such things of heaven and hell. You know? When you go do your research and look under that, you're going to see that heaven and hell was stories given unto the children to make them go to sleep or whatever. This was downtime, and those were them stories that's how them stories was created. Okay? Nothing to do with us. Okay, my bad. It says, understanding their differences and why Christianity has been criticized as unsuitable for Black people requires exploring the origins, practices, impacts on society, and historical context. Below is a detailed breakdown, right? Number one, original and core beliefs, right? African spirituality is a holistic belief system that is indigenous to the continent of Africa, okay? Holistic. And again, we didn't do belief, holistic. We knew this is our DNA. We was one with Mother Nature. Okay? It compasses a connection with ancestors, nature, community, and the divine forces believed to govern the universe. Again, these are things that we knew, we stood on, we practiced, we knew this. This is generational rundown. Okay? We was always talking to our ancestors. Okay? You talk to your ancestors, somebody that died that you love, whether it's your grandmother, whether it was your mother, whether it was your father, somebody of age, of maturity, of knowledge and wisdom. If that person was to pass away, there are going to be times where you are going to think about that person because that's genetically inside of you. That's just what we do. And you're gonna talk, and you connecting. And those are the things that we supposed to do. Supposed to honor the dead. They tell you not to worship the dead, but they got you worshiping Jesus Christ. But oh, my bad, because they told you that he rose again. Come on now, we have to wake up. We're worshiping a dead man whose painting was painting on a wall and have never been removed. It's you guys that's imaginary giving this thing legs. Whether it's the illustrator, whether it's the painter, or whether it's the one that's sitting in the house reading the Biblos. You are giving it life. Your life, our life, is connecting back to our ancestors, connecting back to nature, connecting back to our community, taking care of our community, seeing our community as a responsibility. I'm supposed to take care of my brother and sister. I'm not supposed to look down on them, disrespect them. I'm supposed to comfort. Yes, we are angry. Yes, we are frustrated. Yes, all of the above. But at some point, we got to say, nah, we got to change. And the only way the direction of us gonna even ever consider changing is to remove the Euro-Christian ideology from your foundation. Once that is removed from you, and you stop being biased and stop, basing beliefs and understanding of other people without understanding what you are bringing forth and not understanding who you are. You understand? I know I'm all over the place, but this is something that you really got to think about. Come on. Until that Euro-Christian is removed from us, we will never be elevated. I'm just saying. Let's read. Core principles. The universe is interconnected. There is no separation between the spiritual and the physical realms. That is a fact. They'll tell you that you've seen a demon. They'll tell you things like, oh, this and that. These are the things that the oppressed is telling you. And their justification is a book that they given you. A book that glorifies enslaving you. A book that justifies enslaving you. Think about it. Think about it. Ancestors are venerated as the intermediaries between the living and the divine. Right? Cool. Let's read the second one. Emphasizes on all communal living, respect for nature, and balance in all aspects of life. Polytheistic or monotheistic depends on the region. Now, monotheistic was never something that we've done. Again, our customs and culture, according to the ancestors of the land, they'll tell you that the creators wasn't a gender person. It wasn't a male and a female and this and that. There was a divine order. That we didn't see them as a divine. We didn't see them as he's the head and she's the tail, or she's the head and he's the tail. We didn't see it like that. This was two equal power sources that came together and created who we are. The name says it all. So when you hear the names like Sunini, Nanini, these are masculine, feminine, and all the other names, all the other languages, there was always a counterpart. It might be a man that sits on the throne, and guess what? He has a queen, and guess what? She must be acknowledged. And guess what? You don't get the right to say she's not acknowledged, because what book told you that he's worthy to be played, the Biblos, not your ancestors? Your ancestors did not say he's worshiped, he's worthy. That's what the Biblo says. A writing that has nothing to do with us. We didn't write that. Stop. I've debunked this plenty of times. We didn't write the book. Before there was the East Coast version, it was a KJV. Before it was a Swahili, it was a KJV. No matter how you want to put it, how many directions you want to go, the first writing was the KJV or the Latin, which is two languages that us as people don't speak. Let us continue. My bad, guys. I'm sorry. I've been gone for so long. I'm just so much to say. Right? Polytheistic and monotheistic dependent on region with beliefs in one supreme creator. Example, Sunini or Chawiki. Alongside spirits and deities that govern aspects of life, spiritual practices, rituals, ceremonies, divination, and offering to ancestors and deities, emphasizes on healing through spirituality and herbal remedies. Now, these are things that we still do now. We still do the herbal remedies. Where you think you got that from? How you think you got that? How you think your grandmother got it? How you think your great-grandmother got it? Come on. These are things that's naturally, genetically in us. It's because we're losing our custom. We're losing our way. We're losing ourselves. We want to be like everybody else. We don't want to be us. We don't want to keep the traditions of our ancestors alive. Ain't nobody making cook food like how our ancestors. Matter of fact, my cousin told me this yesterday. My cousin said, she said, yo, we gotta learn how to make legume and she said another food. Now these foods are like Haitian traditional food, soup zoom zoom. She said we gotta learn how to make that. She says they can't. Oh, we the ones that gotta. And I'm like, you right. But when you're chasing a foreign culture, you're gonna lose yourself in the process. And guess what, people? We have lost ourselves. This is why I bang the gavel. It's because we lost ourselves. Come on, my bad. Ah, man. Storytelling and oral traditions as methods at preserving and transmitting wisdom. Our histories from the word of mouth. We need to go to the land and speak to those and find out from the word of mouth. Not gonna get it from no writings. They will never allow such things to be published, ever in life. Remember whose house you're in. Until we victorious, bro, it's just a belief. It's just an afterthought. You can think that you once was there. You can feel until we there, it's just a thought. Because the last time I checked, when I went to go to the voting polls, I didn't see a single black person. Okay, okay. We're so jacked up. We was looking for a female that's not even black. We was gonna forcibly put it in our mind that she was black, just like we forcibly put it in our mind that the story of Jesus is black. This is us. We're so destroyed. We're so destroyed that we don't even see the things that we're doing. We don't even see it. Destroyed. We're destroyed. And it's crazy that we see it, but still don't want to do nothing about it. This is a fact. Let us continue. Christianity. Christianity is a monotheistic religion based on life and teachings of Jesus Christ. Originated in the Middle East but spread globally, especially during European colonialism. Core principles: belief in one God and Jesus as the Savior, the Bible as the central religious text considered the Word of God. Emphasize on sin, salvation, and eternal life through the faith of Christ, often characterized by the hierarchical structure, example, priest, pastor. Right? Spiritual practices. Now, again, this is where I told you the mistake was. There was no such things as prayer. We don't pray. Spiritual practices will not be prayer, it will be meditation. You will be meditating. You will be one with yourself. You'll be connecting with the earth. Through connecting with the earth, you're gonna connect with your ancestors. Your ancestors are gonna connect you with the meta universe. The meta universe is gonna connect you with the creators. And everything is gonna be in line. All the power, all the energy, everything that you need is going to be in line. Now for me, I'm on that journey myself trying to figure these things out. So you're not gonna find me with 50 blocks on my neck and I'm super Mr. Pan-African. No, you're not gonna see that. What you're going to see is gonna see a man that's gonna knock on every single door and see what's inside. And then allow the ancestors to navigate. Because you gotta have a certain amount of wisdom to elevate to the next level. You got to have a certain amount of wisdom in order for you to elevate to the next level. There's no elevation to the next level if you're not seeking wisdom. And if your wisdom is solely based on Euro-Christian ideology, you would never know who you are. You would never know where you existed, where you came from, who created you, who loves you. You would never know. And you can try and change the names and put black on it, put the black face on it. It still remains a story by them, for them, about them. Facts over beliefs. So we didn't. So again, prayer wasn't something. We fast all the time. Fasting is the whole entire world know about fasting. Okay, we gave praise and respect. We didn't worship. Okay. Oh, this is spiritual. This is their practices. Oh, okay. My bad, guys. My bad. And then this is their baptism and their communion and the evangelism and conversion as key components of practice. So this is what ChatGPT had to offer me, right? Right now, I'm gonna play you guys a video. Shout out to Mama Love. Mama Love, again, a sister from South Africa, speaks the language, knows the history of self, know the history of you know where we came from, the origins, and I'm gonna let her speak, right? And shout out to Alpha House for a phenomenal interview with Mama Love. Mama Love, shout out to you for doing such phenomenal work and continuously doing phenomenal work and bringing your people, your children, your sisters, your brothers, your comrades, your fellow El Kebulan kidnaps. You bringing them back home, or at least pointing them in the direction that's away from the segregation, which is their Euro-Christian religion. You heard? But let me play it for you guys. Let me play it. Hold on. Let me make sure this is the right one, guys.
Judgment will be served. The Alkebulan kidnapped will receive justice by any means necessary.
I think the first thing I would have is colonialism was a system, socio-economic system, and once we use the word social, we include all other facets of society.
I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run it back. My bad. I had this the writing on the wall on the screen, but I'm gonna run it back. This is Mama Love. Mama Love is gonna give you some phenomenal information. I will be popping up in and out here and there, time and time, just for copyright purposes. But at the same time, I gotta protect the people, and you know, if she say something that may throw you off or bring forth things that I speak, you will get an understanding, and I'm gonna give you an understanding. All right. So without further ado, let's do what we do. Let's go.
I think the first thing I would have is colonialism was a system, socio-economic system, and once we use the word social, we include all other facets of society, which would be your political, your spiritual, your education, your infrastructure. So colonialism was a system, and you can't impose a system externally on a people who were the first race on earth, who already by that time had systems that had been running for thousands of years. So you can't dismantle those systems unless you demonize them, one. Two, you also can't infuse your system if you are piecemeal about it. So colonialism was a total destruction of the socio-economic systems they found here, in African spirituality being one of the social ones. What effect did it have? That's $1 million question. Let me start by saying the fact that Easter, which we just came from, Ramadan are all public holidays in Africa, but Africa Day is not. I think except in 4 or 5 countries. I speak under correction between the 4 or 5, but it is not more than 5. Even in my own country, South Africa, it's not a holiday. In Kenya, it's not a holiday. Says to me that we are first Muslims and Christians before we are African. So what effect did colonialism have? A thoroughgoing effect. They managed to make you an African. If the day that celebrates your being, who you are, is just a normal day, but a day that celebrates 2 religions that came through colonialism are holidays, right there I can pack and leave this interview. I'm done. I've just said a mouthful. Why is it a social? Oh, here's another disclaimer. Of the 54 African countries, there's only one country where African spirituality can officiate the opening of parliament. Opening of parliament is a big ceremony in all the countries. It's awaited for, it's publicized on television. And in all 53 countries, African spirituality would never be given the platform to officiate over opening of parliament. It's either Islam or Christianity, or they interchange depending on the countries. So it's only in South Africa where African spirituality can officiate an opening of parliament. I think it's only in South Africa where African spirituality is not regarded as witchcraft. It's a spirituality. That's just what it is. I mean, we have also a former British colony, first French or Dutch even at a certain time, but the English have had us the most. So, like all the other countries, it is struggling to breathe and survive. Against Christianity, against Islam, we have an Indian population, against Hinduism even. So I think the effect it has had is immense. One, they've managed to convince us that everything that's African spirituality is witchcraft. Now, my daughter normally says, we must decolonize language. And for a long time, I didn't take it seriously until I had to analyze the word witch doctor. I don't know which language you speak. Well, in South Africa, we have 9 official African languages, but we have more because some have not been captured.
9 official language, and there's even more because some have not been captured. There's still people that knows our true history outside of this colonialism. This is what I'm trying to have you guys to understand. Seeing the difference. Understand what's going on. Let us continue.
And I speak, read and write, 7 of them. The 8th, I can hear broken speaking. So I can tell you in the African languages I've come across, I'm sure even yours, you'll tell me which one your language is. For us, a witch, umthakathi, that is Zulu, Ndebele, Swati. In Xhosa is igqwirha, and then a healer, that is a doctor, inyanga, or Xhosa people will say ugqirha. Now, I can't tell you that in my languages we have some.
You heard us say inyanya. You hear the nana in there. Yeah, just want to just throw that out there.
Something called inyanga mthakathi or igqwirha gqirha. You are either or. You either heal or you witch and you kill. You can't mirror the two. But they've given us that name and it has stayed through colonialism. We call anyone that's practicing African spirituality, healing, we call them witch doctors. Now, I don't know, what is it we say they are doing? Are they witching or are they doctoring? Because you cannot do both. So that for me, as an example, just tells you everything. The negativity that we have towards African spirituality. And I've been to 39 now African countries. I'm just appalled by how, when I say I'm not a Christian, I'm in African spirituality, people quickly say, do you really want to declare that out loud? And I say, why shouldn't I? They say, then people think you're a witch. I said, well, I
You said this is in Africa. This is not in America. 34 countries in Africa. And when she says that, this is what they tell her. This is what's going on, people. This is what's going on. Let us continue.
I'm not a witch. They can think whatever they think. They are colonized. I'm not colonized. So I think I'll stop here just to allow you to come back. So that's a conversation. There's a good and bad for any system. So when the British left, power was then handed over to the small elite, the Afrikaners. I mean, it's the same system they've done in all the countries. They choose what they think is the most docile of the nation groups that are there, because I don't even buy the word tribe or ethnicity. We'll get to it. I call them nation groups. So they look at the most docile and they will leave power in the hands of those people because they want neocolonialism to continue. So with us, they found their docile group, which was the Afrikaners, who really are a mixture of the French, Huguenots, the Dutch, the Germans, and whoever else came there. So that's why you don't find Africans outside of South Africa. It is strictly South African because they came there and reinvented themselves. So they've nowhere to go. South Africa is just the beginning and end for them. So they left power in their hands, system called apartheid. And what apartheid did for us that was good, that I'm only appreciating now, is, I don't know, they thought maybe they are punishing us or they are keeping us in ignorance. But under apartheid system, I did everything in my mother tongue until the last year of primary school. So I did English as a language, but not as a medium of instruction. Then your last year of school, you start doing things in the English as a medium of instruction, right up to high school. So, see, this is how I say this. This is a trio. African spirituality, unlike religion, is practiced through the culture. But language is the vehicle of the culture. So for us Africans, the language, the spirituality, and the culture form a triangle that goes together. One feeds off of the other. So the fact that we kept those languages throughout primary school, and then at high school you had to do it as a mother tongue, and if you failed the mother tongue, you couldn't pass grade 12 or what they call matric. Now, because of that, we kept the language, which means that's the vehicle of the culture. Now, within the culture is the spirituality. So that trio was complete. So even up to university, you have, in my time, you have people who did BA in Xhosa, who did BA in Zulu. So it helped force us to keep the culture and to keep the spirituality. I think that's just about what I could say, because otherwise, what makes us distinct from the others? We're all colonized the same. As I say, we're a former British colony. But I think that keeping of the language, because I've actually looked at a lot of African countries through which I go, the mother tongue ends in primary school. I mean, in places like Tanzania, there's not even a mother tongue. There's just Swahili and English. And we know Swahili is not a people. It's just a language. So I think the clamp down.
You heard what she said? A lot of our people don't even speak the motherland's language. They don't even speak Mama Love's tongue, excuse me. It's a lot that's going on, and a lot of our people don't even know what's the cause of this. I'm trying to let you guys feel my pain. The frustration is like it's here. Is we're not trying to learn who we are. It's like we just don't want to know that. But teach us how to be a better Euro-Christian. Let us continue.
On African languages outside South Africa has really killed the spiritual. It has killed the culture. As a result, it has killed the spirituality. But don't be deceived. I need to put a disclaimer even for us, because we are former colonized, and I counted the French, the Dutch, the English, and then it was apartheid. So you also have what I call bastardized African spirituality. So, and which is why I use the phrase fighting back, fighting to survive. That, hang on, guys, this is actually the real thing, not the bastardization that it has become. Because I don't know in Kenya, but you'll see in South Africa, mostly, except for the born-again fraternity, who are not the majority because the Catholic Church is still the biggest, or ZCC, the Zion Christian Church. When they say I'm a Christian, what they are saying to you is on Friday, I slaughter the goat, I put the insides, whatever that belong to Msamo, which is the home altar, and I do the whole ritual. But on Sunday, I go to church and I take the sacrament. So those people, because of that, will bring traces of Christianity into African spirituality. And I'll give you an example, then I'll let you come back. For instance, I say to South Africans, or anyone that I deal with who says, okay, now I hear you. So how do I embrace African spirituality? Is there a book? Who do I speak to? And I say, no, it's not religion. It comes from within. So they come to African spirituality and they're still looking for the bishop, the pope, the bishop, the archbishop, the pastor. They're looking for the prophet. So they want to be consulting all the time. You see West African movies. They want to consult that medium and that medium and that medium. In proper spirituality, people shouldn't tell you things you'd not have felt. You should be in communion with your ancestors every step of the way, which is why we keep umsamo. We call it umsamo in Zulu, Xhosa, Ndebele, and Swati at home, which are called the Nguni languages. Umsamo is where you fight your battles. It is where you interact with your ancestors. It is where your messages come to you. So that when you talk to me, I know I've already felt it or I have the inclination. This thing of a pastor meets you in church and tells you, oh, no, I think, God told me about you and God said, but God said nothing to me. So that rot is also with us. You'll meet a person, they will tell you, Melio Twasa is to go for initiation, to be Isangoma, that's a CA. And I'm just like, but my ancestors have said nothing to me about this child. How are they talking to you about my 13-year-old, about their initiation, but they've said nothing to me, but I am at my Msamo every step of the way. So there is a rot too, even for us, but I'm just glad that we are calling out that rot. What's your nation group in Kenya?
So we have 42 tribes.
Yeah.
So the tribe that
Can you please not call them tribes on a Pan-African show? Definition of a tribe is a group of uncivilized barbaric people. So those when they are nation groups. Remember, these were nations in their own right. But they had to destroy that nationhood because they were wielding you into the artificial nation called Kenya. Same with us. Can't call Zulu people an ethnic group because we don't use the word tribe, we use ethnicity. You can't call them an ethnic group. They were a nation on their own. They were a state on their own. Baganda was a state on their own.
So, the reason why, and she said it, she said it she said it phenomenal. This is the reason why I try to let brothers and sisters understand into why we must start paying attention to the things that's being handed to us. Why is it being handed to us? Why is it still in such a high demand and you're supplying it when drug dealers don't even have this long of a run? Where you are supplying the same thing, the same high, you getting the same thing over and over again. And the drug dealer don't get arrested. This is what she's trying to tell you. This is why you gotta pay attention when you trying to say, yeah, man, I'm from the 12 tribes, man. I'm 12 this. Everything is divided. Why are we all divided? Who's putting this division within the book? Yeah.
I call them nation groups. So you are Kamba or Kikuyu. Okay, you guys are actually in my book with rainmaking. Now, there isn't a single moment in Greek, they call it a kairos moment. I would be lying if I say it's a single moment. It's been a culmination. But I have always had an inquiring mind. It has been a problem. Wherever I've gone, I have either been a square in a round or a round in a square. I've never really fitted because I tend to question things. So, and I'll tell you, I was born Catholic, went to Catholic schools even. Then on my own, became born again. I think I was 16 at a boarding school in KZN, met the born again fraternity. I think I was here.
Just an FYI, guys, my apologies. That is not my son. well, I guess when they was recording it, they was in a public space and things like this occur. So just giving a heads up, that's not me.
With how they dance, the Catholic Church was a bit somber in those days. One thing throughout those times that stayed with me was the state of Africans. I couldn't find myself in the Bible. Let's start there. Because the he, she, his, her doesn't exist in African languages. I call it gender grammar, or it's called gender grammar. It doesn't exist. Now, I was just like, okay, if this includes me, why does it have gender grammar? One. Two, because it doesn't have gender grammar, like in Zulu, the concept of what you call God in Christianity, in spirituality, it's called originator, because you believe that's where you originate from. Now, because there's no gender grammar, the concept of an originator for Africans is never genderized. So, like in Zulu, I say Umeri. I'll use the English words so that Kenyans can understand. I would have used Zulu ones. We say Umeri, which is a girl's name, but we will also say Uheri, which is a boy. So I will say Imbuzi, which you also say Imbuzi goat. I'll say Imbuzi Yaga Heri, but I will also say Imbuzi Yaga Mary. So there's no his hair. So it bothered me that God was a he. So I'm just like, okay, if there's really the same God in the world, how come this one is a man, but Umvelingangi, which is the name for the originator in Zulu, so what people say Umvelinganti, or Ndebele people say Uzim, they're not genderized. And for anyone who rocks up and tell me they're male, I want them to tell me, how do you know? Because we never carved them, we never drew them, we never interacted with them, actually. That's why when they came, they even called them the absent God, thinking they are laughing at us. And Jomo Kenyatta actually tore apart that concept in the book Facing Mount Kenya, talking about rainmaking. The absent God is a good thing. It's not a bad concept. Flag it, please, so that we can come back to it. I don't want to sidetrack myself, but we need to talk about the so-called
Black Girl Magic, I need you to grab that. The absent gods. Look into that for me. We got some homework to do. You heard? 60 mil.
absent God before the show ends. So I was just like, so how do they know that you were male? Because we don't have gender grammar. So it means it's actually not true, or it's 50-50. But the Christian one or the Muslim one, we know for sure they are male, because that's what the spirituality say. And then the third thing was just like, because I told I was raised Catholic through and through. I even went to Catholic schools. Then I became born again. Bible through and through. So I'm just like, that's Jesus now. For Christians will know, but I'm helping those who are not. He came that we might have life and have it in abundance. My sister. After that abundance, the Congolese faced Leopold for over 100 years as a private Belgian colony, who halved the population by the terror he unleashed on them, cutting off hands from 3 or 4-year-olds in household because they were not meeting the rubber quota. They moved from there to be a Belgian colony. They moved from there to be under Mobutu's dictatorship. They moved from there to be what the Congo is today, plundered by the West, using 2 African countries, which I won't name on this show, to protect you. In South Africa, I would name them. Now, after he came that we might have life and have it in abundance, we moved through slavery as a continent. We moved from it to colonialism. I call it classical colonialism, when you had the colonial army, the colonial administrator. We moved from there to neo-colonialism, which is what we are suffering now. In Latin, neo means new, for the sake of your listeners, which is economic and cultural slavery, actually. Now, I don't know about you, but that verse bothered me a lot. Abundance, I'm struggling to see the abundance. And most people say, oh, it's because your leaders are corrupt, they steal too much. Who told you there's no theft by leaders in Asia, in America, and in the West? The difference is they're stealing for themselves. Here, the difference is our leaders are forced to open pathways for them to still benefit Europe and still benefit whoever. And if people say, no, that's not the truth, I always ask them, so show me, where's Sankara? Is he still alive? Is Lumumba still alive? Is Steve Biko still alive? Is Magafuli still alive? I mean, the list goes on. So those things bothered me. And I think I then just, I had this question in my mind that says, what was Africa before Africa was Africa? Because remember, even the word Africa, we never gave ourselves. And we were never run as a single holistic continent, as I say. We had variant political systems in this continent. You had matriarchies, you had patrilinealities, not patriarchies. It's not the same thing. We can flag it also, can come back to it as a question. There's a fundamental difference between patriarchy and patrilineality. We had confederations, we had nation states, we had independent city states, we had a variety of political and governance systems.
Learn some history. Learn your history. Don't that feel good? Hearing some African Black El Kebulan stories. Don't that feel good? Come on, let's rock.
So, when I started searching, okay, what was Africa before Africa was Africa? I then came across, so there's AD, Anna Domina, which is where we are now, which means after Christ in Latin. But there's BC, that's before Christ. Okay, if there's before Christ, what happened in Africa before Christ? And then I even came to the point where I'm calling it, because I'm not a Christian, it's not BC for me, it's BCE, before the Common Era. So it's not Anna Domina for me, it's Common Era. So, delving into Africa, BCE really opened my eyes. But also, just coming across how prominent women were in Africa, I think, which is another thing, because as I said, religion is strictly and fundamentally patriarchal. And God is a man, the angels are little babies in the Catholic Church, little boy babies. All 12 disciples were men, Jesus is a man. The first priests were men. I mean, the first church that gave birth to all, the mother of all churches, the Catholic Church, all the priests are male. So I was just...
Everything that I've been telling you guys. And again, I'm looking into why is our women so demoralized within the Biblos? Now, what that leads me to do is I need to go find out these women's strengths. I need to learn about women queens, women freedom fighters, women. I need to know. There's something going on. And I've been saying this for like years. I just never understood it because it never made sense. But when you are a student, you must humble yourself as a student. And now that I have evolved into a profess, I must confess. And certain things I must address, and I'm gonna address that. I'm gonna look into that, and hopefully it gives me the answer. But she's saying everything that I've been saying. Let us go.
Like, okay, but then I meet Neanda Nyagasigana of Zimbabwe, who was a spiritualist, a leader in her own right, who mobilized a whole 2 nations and the other ones, but primarily Shona and Ndebele, to fight against Cecil John Rhodes and his incursion into Zimbabwe. I'm just like, if we're always patriarchal as they tell us, how could she do it? And then you meet the Kendake Queens of Nubia, which is what they call Sudan Juba. I'm sorry, I can't say South Sudan. I think that's the biggest insult you could ever inflict on anybody. The heritage of Sudan belongs to the Africans. We know the Northerners came there to colonize. There's even a date and time when Arabs landed here with Islam. So the people I call North Sudan is Khartoum. The people I call Sudan is Juba. So 100 years of nothing but matriarchy. The Kendake Queens, Kendake is a title like Caesar. You begin to realize that, no, man, something doesn't add up. You're just like, no, man, there's either disinformation or misinformation, but everything I'm told about myself as an African doesn't add up. And it is not in the books that I'm taught at school. It's not, I always tell people I have a PhD. I only did it for clever blacks. If I walk into a room with clever blacks, they should at least accept me, and allow me to speak, because otherwise they say, who's this one? But I was not for a second fooled that everything I know about my people now, I would have learned in that PhD. So, for me, I never had a single Kairos moment. It's just all those things adding together. But also, remember, for you guys, colonization stopped with your parents. So it's stories you hear. For us, because apartheid was a continuation or a form of colonization, I've experienced it. I'm just like, the Catholic Church had a white church, nicely built by money from Rome, and then we had churches in the township that are falling apart where people must take money out of their pockets to keep up. And I'm just like,
She's speaking facts. And these are the facts. When the facts overrides the beliefs, this is what you get. Yeah. Let us continue.
if he came that we might have life and have it in abundance, that shouldn't have happened. The Catholic Church should have been the first to say slavery is wrong, colonization is wrong, but it actually wasn't. Through the papal bull of the 1880s, the Catholic Church is actually who divided the continent for colonization, because Spain and Portugal were fighting, and the Pope was just like, two Christian nations are not going to be fighting over monkeys and barbaric people. So Spain, you will take South America. Portugal, you will take America. Where Portugal was overtaken by France, then gained powerful momentum, the British powerful, so they took them out. But Spain maintained its stronghold in South America. So there wasn't a single moment, to come back to your question. It was a process. And I can even tell you, I fought against the process, because Christianity is like drugs. Christianity is an opium. Karl Marx, that's one of the few moments I agree with a white German man. He was right. It's an opium. Once it has you, it has you. You even have withdrawal symptoms when you leave religion, and I had them. The blessing for me is we went through it together as a family. But yeah, you have withdrawal symptoms. You need a place to go and detox. That's how much it has you, because it permeates everything about your life. It even permeates how you judge people. Oh, fundamentally, the two are like north and east. They will not meet.
Everything that I've been saying. You're suffering from PTSD. Now, this is my first time watching this video. Well, watching it to this full extent. And she's saying everything that I've been saying. I've been saying this for a long time. We're suffering from a disorder. This disorder is what's making brothers and sisters look at each other like, he's not in the word. He gone back into this. Let's pray for the brother. No. It's the prayer that's making us suffer. You're casting a spell on that person. You're preventing that person from completing the task at hand, and that is complete liberation for the children that El Kebulane kidnapped. That doesn't stop. And she said it. With the severe drugs, a severe disorder. And nobody's man enough to admit it. And even if you admit it, none of you guys is man enough to go through that detox, because you know that joint is gonna make you feel so good. I'm in the detox right now. There's my moments where I'm like, yo, am I doing the right thing? Oh, hell this. My ways will be like, yo, man, you know this is a sin, and I'm like, yo, what is a sin? There's no greater sin than the enslavement of people, children fed to alligators, innocent women forcibly producing children that they know not supposed to never produce. Like, yeah. And there's no penalty for that, because these people live prosperous lives, living in lavish homes. Children is still living comfortably off what we're doing till this very day. No, we don't want to hear about sin, because that sin has not been addressed. Okay? And if if that word is not addressing such heinous things and it doesn't define that, then we good. We don't need that. I'm just saying. Let us continue. My bad, guys.
The first one I talked about was religion is a system of patriarchy. Spirituality is a system of balance. I've heard people say it's matriarchy. That's a bit of a reach. It's about balance. That is why you'll find, like in the Zulu, we call them, I'm looking for the word. It will come to me what it is in English. But it's almost like a system of how you came into being. It's a definition of how you came into being as a people. So like for Zulu people, Umvelingan is alone, gender unknown. But you will see the deities that follow. You will now have Nomkhubulwane, that's a female deity. You have some people say Mvelingang is above, Unkulunkulu is a deity. Some people say Unkulunkulu is above, Mvelingang is a deity, whichever way. But that one, that's a deity, is now a male deity. So you'll find the deities are both gendered. And then you come to ancestors, it's people who lived and walked the face of this earth. So they are both genders. And I'm talking biology now, not gender as a social construct. Again, please flag that. We need to come to it. What's the fundamental difference? So that's the first thing. Two, spirituality comes from within. As I said, it is home-based. We don't have a specific day in the week where we go and assemble. And this God is so needy, you need to go and assemble and praise them for an hour or for 4 hours. No. Here, you speak more to your ancestors, to the deities. That's why they called them the absent God. They are not there. And I love the absent God. You know the present God of Christianity, you can tear them apart. And they say it with their own words. God says, not even a sparrow falls to the ground before I know. Then I'm just like, okay, so the 16-year-old girl that was raped, God knew and was there, but didn't prevent it. My daughter asked me a question when she...
And when, if you was to bring this to anybody that understand the Biblos, I promise you the response to that was she had to go through that so she can know that Jesus is real, God is real, because she's supposed to die and she didn't. And you're going to hear that just believe that justice shall be served in the name of Jesus, your Lord, or whatever name you want to give them. And I don't even want to disrespect their ancestors by associating their names with the writings from the enemy. I'm not going to do that no more. You understand? We're not doing that. We pay respect. We honor them. You know what I'm saying? They sit above. They sit in the position where they sit in, and we sit in the position where we sit in. And our job is to do what we're supposed to do on this earth, and that's being, you know what I'm saying, who's supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Keepers of the universe. And I'll leave it as that. Let's go.
In 13, she said, the ships that came here to colonize us, because they came from Europe, did the guns and the Bibles come in the same ship? Did the soldiers and the missionaries come in the same ship? And before I struggled to answer her, she said, well, you have cognitive dissonance with your master's degree. I didn't have a PhD then. She said, of course they did. The part I can't handle is how he couldn't stop something he knew was going to alter us forever. He couldn't prevent it. But not even a sparrow falls to the ground before he knows. He's a present God. I like the absent God, which is the third difference with spirituality. Spirituality says, I have given you the science, the know-how, and the spirituality, and the intellect. That's why you have a brain. You are distinct from a lizard. To mix those and birth solutions. Jomo Kenyatta talks about it very brilliantly in Facing Mount Kenya, that we did not pray for rain. We fetched rain. You use the science, you use the spirituality, you use the knowledge, the culture, and the know-how. When you climb that mountain, it doesn't matter if you climb it for 4 months. One thing for sure is when you come down that mountain, you shall come down with rain. So that's another third fundamental difference. We have an originator that is absent, that has made you a steward on this realm of earth, because we have 3 realms. You have the one above, you have the one under, you have the one, the earth, which is in the middle. So on this earth, you have the realm. That's how we built the pyramids, because the pyramids are a feat of mathematics, of physics, of science in general, actually, of...
Listen to your mama love speak that speak. Let's get some vocabulary history right now, shall we? Can we? Let's go.
Spirituality. Now, that's number 3. Number 4, we in spirituality, we we consult for communal things, basically. If you lived in a village of Bakamba 1,000 years ago, and you have this lion that just keeps attacking the village, and no matter what you do, you can't catch it. Or all your girls, they turn 10 and then they have a sudden disease and they die. And then you're just like, okay, we have disturbed the balance of nature, because that's the fifth one will come to it. We've disturbed the balance of nature. So something is not in sync, something is not balancing. Then you consult collectively to find out what is wrong. But where the bastardization has come in, people want to consult for personal reasons. How can I become rich? How do I bewitch my husband to divorce them? We never, for those things, you fought your ancestors at your umsamo, at your altar, you got the answers. Difference which I have alluded to. In spirituality, nature is in us and we are in nature. The balance. In a religion, they will tell you, praise the maker, not the maid, not the nature. For us, we can't separate the two. We are part of nature and nature is in us. Trying to think what else. I think for me, those are the most fundamental. Very important. In spirituality, there's no proselytization, what they call evangelizing. We don't recruit people to come and be in African spirituality. We believe it is inbred in you. It's endogenous in you, because you are African. You are born with it. With spirituality, we need to recruit you. Born again people even have a date and time when they accepted Christ, and it becomes a big day. And I can tell you, attached to that, there's never been a war fought in Africa, from Morocco to Madagascar, from Cape to Cairo, based on spirituality. Zulu people have never attacked Sotho people because we slaughter a white goat and you slaughter a goat that has got spots. Kamba people have never attacked Igbo people because the Igbo.
So just a FYI, we've never, our wars was never based on no spirituality. Again, these wars come from these people, the integration, voices in the ears. You know what I'm saying? Saying you need to have more because your man's next door got more gold than you, and you can't keep up with the purchase of the Arabs, so the Arabs is suggesting you that you go to war. And when you was like, what? Yeah, if you pray to the man of Allah, and Allah did this, and Allah do that. Now all of a sudden the Africans is Allah because it made them do things that we didn't do, and that's harm and kill. So this is the get back that you guys are witnessing. It's off the foolishness of stuff like that. If you want to really know why we are in these circumstances, why we are at the bottom, it's not no breaking no goddamn commandments. It's because we wanted to be a part of the commandments story. We allow the enemy to divide us. And guess what they're doing? Still dividing us. But yeah, you don't hear me though. Let us continue.
People slaughter when the sun sets, but Kamba people slaughter at 4 in the afternoon. We don't endeavor to make ourselves look alike. There's no straight jacket. That's another difference I almost forgot. Spirituality is creative, religion is prescriptive. It's a straight jacket. You either fit in or we demonize you and we bastardize you. That's like saying, how are we going to remove neocolonialism from Africa? Because it's part of it, because neocolonialism is cultural and economic slavery or colonialism. That's one. Two, we should never fool ourselves. Christianity is a state religion. It's structural, it's systemic. It's upheld by the UN in many ways. It can be a topic on its own. We can do it on Zoom because I won't be in Kenya. Christianity is upheld by the UN in many silent nuances that you would think are innocent. It's upheld. It's upheld at the OECD. It's upheld in NATO. Christianity, in essence, is a Western system reflected in the foreign policies of Western.
My apologies, Mama Love. So what I want to show you is that in the Biblos, where you hear the kingdom of God shall come on this earth, that kingdom is here right now. Jesus says, I'm coming with the kingdom. The kingdom of God will come on this earth. It is here right now. This God that you guys are worshiping, you, whether it's in the book, whether it's in your belief, whether it's in your thoughts, whether you writing it, whether whatever. This God is running the world right now. Jesus told you. Revelation showed you. Here we are. You go ahead and listen to the other stories. Continue listening to it. And you will see that everything that you was told was just another fabricated lie to colonize you and keep you under captivity. Okay? Let us continue.
America does not even hide it. When America invades people because they stand in the way of their foreign policy, they say they stand in their way of our great civilization. Don't fool yourself. In that great civilization, they mean the civilization of the church, the civilization of the West, the so-called democracy. So when you are in African spirituality, please, even what you guys are doing for me is an anomaly. African spirituality is not given platforms. It's not a walk of populism. It's not a walk that will be celebrated. You are not going to be elected to represent the Kamba County because you denied Christianity and you're in African spirituality. The reverse is the opposite, actually. So it's a tough thing to do, but for me, I elected, me and my family, tough as it is, we shall find it and we shall live it. That's why in South Africa, it's tough for me to even attend funerals. I don't go to funerals, including those of family. I opt to be the member that stays at home because we have even lost how we bury people. The burial itself is a church service, and then they still get to the graveyard and it's another church service. So I don't go to funerals. If it's a funeral of people I do not know, I always arrive when the cars pull off to the graveyard, and then they will find me waiting at home when they come back because the aim is to show support. It's not going to be evangelized against my will. What do you do? We are Kenyan. For starters, can you take Facing Mount Kenya and read it? And look at the nuances Jomo Kenyatta is raising there. He wasn't a Pan-Africanist, by the way, so he's not my hero. But I'm not the person who says because you are not a Pan-African, everything you say is wrong, or because I don't. So on that one, I quote this book to anybody I come across. It's a book worth reading, because it will show you the fundamental difference between spirituality and religion, between praying by faith, which is another difference we didn't raise. In religion, there's faith. In spirituality, there's no faith. You just know. I didn't sit on this chair by faith. I sat and I knew it will balance me because I know chairs, because I've sat in chairs before. So I just sat. I didn't need faith to sit on the chair. So that's the fundamental difference the book is raising. So start there as Kenyans.